Welcome to the weekly dose of Emuna for Shabbat Kodesh. I took this beautiful insight for this week's Shabbat Emuna audio from a book called A New Shabbos Soul by Rav Baruch Leff. He brings down a beautiful insight as far as why we sleep on Shabbat. I'd like to call this weekly dose of Emuna for Shabbat Kodesh Shluffing away Shabbat. He speaks here about the whole idea of taking naps on Shabbat afternoon, and that we all to some degree feel a little bit guilty that we sleep away so much of our Shabbat. And he brings down that there is a profound rationale why we sleep on Shabbat. That even though on Shabbat we all feel like we're kings, but we still look for that shluff. We still look for that luxury of sleeping on Shabbat. So he brings down that the Ramat says in Siman 290 that napping on Shabbat is actually permitted because it's part of Oneg Shabbat. It really gives us pleasure. And he even writes that the Shla Kadosh in Yalkut Ruveni, Parashat V'etchanan, says that there's an acronym for Shabbat that the Shla brings down. It's that Shin stands for Shena, Bet in the Shabbat stands for Bishabbat, and the Taf in Shabbat stands Ta'anug. Shena Bishabbat Ta'anug. That's what the Shla brings down, that the Shabbat actually stands for. So the question is, Shabbat gives us this desire to want to sleep. Why is it that we feel that during the week we feel guilty to go for a 10-minute powerhouse nap, and yet on Shabbat we have no problem going into bed for 2-3 hours and sleeping away on Shabbat? So the Bnei Yisachar brings down that Hashem created the world in such a way that everything in the world needs to have rest. Everything physical cannot exist without some sort of sleep. Everything physical experiences fatigue, and the way that it re-injects itself with the ability of vitality and the life force to live, it has to return back to Shemayim to get its battery recharged, and then comes back into this world to live life with a continued existence and renewed vitality. And he brings down that even water to some degree needs to sleep, and nature, everything needs to recharge. The more life force, the more connected to life something physical is in this world, the more it needs to sleep, which is why man, who's at sort of the top of that, life force injection, mankind needs to sleep the most, because we exist with the most godly life force pumped into us. We're most connected to the receiving of Hashem's life force. On Shabbat, the Bnei Yisachar brings down, we receive an extra dose of spirituality. Of course, here there's also various commentaries. Some say we get another neshama, some say we get an addition to the neshama, some say we just get an extra dose of spirituality. Whatever the case may be, we receive on Shabbat more life, which is why we would understand why we need more sleep, because we just said the more life, the more need to rejuvenate and recharge. So that's one explanation. And it's very interesting that there's an actual spiritual reason to why it is that we feel we need to sleep. In addition to that, the Mishnah Berurah actually writes down that it's a good practice for a person to, when they do go to sleep, or when they engage in any physical activity, it's a good practice that before a person goes to rest, or before he eats, or whatever it is, the physical activity that the person is involved in, it's a good thing to state out loud or in the kavanah of his mind that he's doing so in order to serve Hashem with more strength and with more health. So that is something that we should certainly also keep in mind when we, Be'ezrat Hashem, enjoy our mid-afternoon Shabbat relaxation. There's another explanation that I wanted to bring down that I found extremely intriguing that the Rav brings down here in the book, where he says that when a person sleeps, we know that there's a part of his soul that actually goes to Shemayim, and that Hashem returns that soul back, of course, to the person when he wakes up. And Chazal bring down in the Gemara Brachot 57b that on Shabbat, it's a profound insight, on Shabbat a person essentially on a subconscious spiritual level, he actually wishes to die to a certain degree from their previous life, the life that they had, the weekday world. Every person to some degree wishes to die and part from it, and we wish to live in a way that we have only Shabbat. So it's me'ain, a sort of tchiyat hametim that we wish to experience, and we get to experience that every Shabbat by sleeping and getting and being reawakened and receiving a new injection of spirituality. So it sort of gives us a brand new focus and a new direction in terms of spiritual growth. That is one of the benefits that we actually get from sleeping on Shabbat. Profound insight. So Be'ezrat Hashem, don't feel guilty sleeping this Shabbat Kodesh. Enjoy it. Understand you're rejuvenating. Enjoy your experiencing Me'ain Tchiyat HaMeitim, a sort of a resurrection of your soul. And Be'ezrat Hashem, when you wake up from your Shabbat Shluff, feel rejuvenated, have a brand new focus and new intent to serve Hashem in a brand new way. Have a great Shabbat.